Hello and welcome to Just Bleed Radio, episode 18. This is our first review show of 2024, and we'll be talking about the first UFC pay-per-view of 2024. UFC 297 that took place in Toronto, Canada, and settled the challengers for the men's middleweight belt between Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis, and the women's bantamweight belt between Raquel Pennington and Mayra Bueno Silva. God, that name's hard. This is your very tired host, Dangermouse, and I'm tired because this card didn't finish until around 6:30 a.m. here in the UK. And I'm joined by my usual co-host, Austin, and we also have a blast from the past joining us, all the way from Ohio. It's none other than Lazybed. So, hello guys, how you both doing?
What's up, Mouse? Doing good.
Good.
Very good, yes.
Good to be back.
Yeah, the prodigal son returns.
Anyways, we might as well start with the main event between Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis. So, thoughts on the fight and who really won? And as we haven't heard from him in a while, I'll let Lazy take us away on this one. What do you have to say on the fight, Lazy?
Well, there's a number of things you could say. But what I will say is it was a good fight. It was a great fight. I expected a good fight going in, and we ended up getting a pretty solid barn burner, I'd say. Some slower moments, but all in all, both guys were putting forth maximum effort. I feel like, going into it, I sort of anticipated Strickland putting the pace on DDP a little bit more, pushing the cardio. And I don't feel like he really did that at times. So maybe he could have actually given more effort, but I think really it came down to DDP just sort of being the juggernaut that he is, and whether a lot of the shots he was slinging were landing or not, he was just sort of stifling Sean.
Yeah, he certainly kept coming forward.
Yeah. But yeah, all in all, I think it was a pretty good fucking fight. I wasn't that disappointed. Obviously, I'm not a big Sean fan, so I was happy with the outcome. Even though I'm not really a DDP fan either. But, it is what it is. I'm pretty happy for the middleweight division. I like to see the belt moving and changing hands more than I like it staying with the same champion forever. So, play a little hot potato, and I think the middleweight could get pretty interesting.
Yes, quite. Let's see. I pretty much agree with it being a hot potato moment for the middleweight division, which seems fun because it also gives my boy Robert Whitaker a chance to get the belt back. Let's go, fuck yeah! But
it does, yeah.
But no, honestly, I had it 2-2 going into the fifth, and then I'm gonna be the odd one and say I had it a draw. I had it a draw going into the fifth, after the fifth, because I felt like they both did just enough to be competitive in it, but not outright win the fifth round. And I don't know if that's just because I was looking at it and I didn't see a whole lot coming from, no definitive winner in that round, because I felt like it was as close as the fight was. You could see Dracus trying to do other things, and then Strickland just kind of being consistent with his pressure, making DDP kind of react and jump in with lunging strikes and still catching him, but he'd get clipped on the outside of some of his combinations. Looking at the fight now, I felt like you can argue for Strickland, but I feel like you couldn't really be wrong in giving it to du Plessis, because it was a close competitive fight and it was primarily a stand-up fight, like Lazy was saying.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't see a problem with a rematch. I think if it was a draw, you absolutely could have ran a rematch right back. I feel like Dracus. I feel like the play is now you have Dracus as a champion. Strickland is probably going to be a number one contender after this. We have no idea what Izzy's doing. You have a couple of guys who are in the wings in middleweight right now, and no clear number one contender. It's going to be a fun time. I think it's going to be a fun time at middleweight.
Well, it's funny you brought up the draw, because and watching the fight when it was live, they flashed up the stats for the third round, and of the stats they flashed up, they were even on strikes. So I'd have been quite happy if they'd have scored that round as a draw, and it had gone, 2-2 with a 10-10 or a 9-9 round in the middle, whatever.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure I'm an outlier on that one.
No, I think it would have been perfectly fair to score it as a draw, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think that's too outlandish because, like you said, going into the fifth, it did seem like no matter how you scored the previous 4 rounds, it was very plausible for anyone to have it 2-2 going into that fifth. So that fifth was super important and not positive, but if I remember the judges' cards correctly, didn't they? They each scored the fifth differently, or two of them scored it the same, one of them scored it differently. It wasn't
No, I
unanimous.
think everybody scored the fifth round for Sean. First and fifth were scored for Sean.
Okay,
Everybody's cards, if I remember rightly.
Interesting.
In fact,
but yeah, I think that I wouldn't have been shocked if it had gone either way, or if it had ended in a draw. It was a pretty razor close fight, and I think it all kind of came down to, if you're a judge and you're sitting at cage side, how are you viewing the optics of the fight? How are you? What's swaying you? So, you had Sean, who he's throwing laser shots right down the pipe, his classic 1-2s, and they were connecting. I mean, you could see it all over DDP's face. But then you had DDP winging these big wild hooks, and even if they were just kind of grazing off of Sean or bouncing off of his arms, whatever it was, they looked impactful. It looked like it was shifting him. Plus, he's throwing the body kicks and he's kicking to the head. So I think it really just came down to, if you're the judge, what sways you more, accuracy or thudding impact.
Well, very unusually, I thought Sal D'Amato actually scored it right, who almost never gets a fight right, because he was the only guy who gave Sean the third round. That's why we had the split decision.
I would say that too, yeah. But I can't remember the last time we saw Sean get as bloody as he did in this fight. I think that, I don't know if that's just me, but I felt like that could have added to some of it, because there was wonky scoring, I think, throughout the night. Was that not the case?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Sean was saying he took a headbutt. That's what opened up his eye. So it wasn't even a punch. It was just Rickard lunging in and smashing him with the head.
Yep,
And he had some blood on the other side of his face. But I don't know if you remember. Nixick was saying they did a lot of. They were actually sparring in the week coming up to the fight, which is kind of crazy. Almost no one does that, but it's Sean Strickland, and he does what he wants. And I think when he did one of the interviews with Nina, he had a cut on his face, and I just wondered if that had opened up really quickly.
That could very well be the case. Yeah,
and then he had blood all over his face, and I didn't hear the commentary because I was listening. To a fight companion rather than listening to DC and DC talking bollocks basically as usual.
Well, I mean, Dominic tend to kind of take the conversation away from the fight sometimes.
I did hear that Cruz had been talking about all the blood over Sean's face and saying that was costing him rounds. And I was wondering that myself watching the fight. All the judges seeing all this blood and thinking it was caused in second or third round, whatever it was. That's when the cut's scored. That's when you scored the damage. You don't keep scoring it for the next round because he's bleeding all over his face. Once you've opened a cut, it bleeds. End of story.
The optics. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lazy.
All I was going to say was, about the Sean claiming it was a headbutt. Typically, the truck for UFC, their production truck, is pretty good about isolating those sort of things and showing it on the broadcast. So I think if it had been like a clash of heads, because that was a pretty pivotal moment in the fight. So I think if it had been caused by a head clash, they probably would have showed it.
I'd have to go back and watch it. I didn't get around to rewatching
I'm
the
not
entire
sure.
fight.
Well, no, I mean, I think it the way we were all seeing the fight, it was competitive, right? That's not an argument.
Oh, for sure,
I think the problem is the optics of the fight, which shouldn't be scored, like you said, throughout the fight. It should just be, okay, he cut him open. That's from this strike, ideally, or this combination that ended up, like, when they disengaged from the fence. Okay, you can see Strickland bleeding, or when Strickland, catches DDP walking in with an over the top kind of offensive combination, catches him on his left eye, the eye swollen. Okay, we saw him counter him on his way in. That's obviously from him throwing that strike. It's not you continuously score it, but at the same time, if they're leading into the next round and it's like, okay, that's fight, they cleaned up the cut a little bit, or they're touching up the eye, and then they keep going back to it, that damage can get worse. And it seemed to get worse for both guys as the fight went on. Obviously, the cut for Strickland came later in the fight, but the eye damage seemed to kind of get worse as the fight wore on. So you can judge it later, but it would just depend on, like, if a good point would be Irene Aldana versus oh god, I forget her name.
Hosa.
Hosa, yes, thank you. Where she was just consistently, Hosa was literally landing that leg damage or leg kick on and on throughout the fight, and that leg gets redder, purpler, and darker because she's just absorbing so much damage. But her face is literally wearing the rest of the damage of the fight.
I think it's almost as though, like, if that targeted area continues to accrue further damage.
Yeah.
So if if you damaged it, like if you cut somebody, they're going to stay cut. But if you continue to target that cut and that cut gets worse and worse, they're accruing further damage, I suppose.
Yeah. But no, it was a good fight. It was a good fight. You can't complain with what we got. I think legitimately it's due a rematch. I just don't know if you do it right away or do you save it for like 300.
You don't get a fucking title rematch after failing your first defense. No, you
better make sure that Izzy doesn't get to fight for the title then, because he lost it and he wants to come. If he's supposed to be coming back without doing any kind of qualifying fight, that's completely out of order.
Why not have them rematch at 300 then with not Drakus and Strickland, but Strickland and Izzy as a number one contender fight, and then you would have then you could have like somebody, let's say Jared Cannonier, who is the contender, fight Drakus Duplessis, which is a matchup we have not seen yet, and on top of it, Cannonier has a win over the most recent win over Strickland. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it would that's a thing you can do, and it can be at 300. But then again, you got 3 months between then and now. Drakus took a decent amount of damage in this fight. I think Cannonier is hurt, so it's not a possibility outright. But Strickland
isn't Cannonier scheduled to fight Dolidze?
I think that canceled. I think because of injury that. I think Jared Cannonier got injured training for a fight because he was supposed to fight Dolidze. Then they asked him to go train to go fight Khamzat in Abu Dhabi, got injured, so now he's out indefinitely until he's back. So that's why he got the last minute call from who the hell was it? Kamaru Usman got that call. I think that was the thing. So this middleweight division is starting to get exciting.
Sure. I will say one more thing, and I was surprised that because Sean was landing those teeps early in the first round, and I think he threw a couple in the second. Then he just seemed to stop throwing them, and they were obviously having an effect, sapping DDP's gas tank. I would imagine having Sean's toes jammed into his stomach every few seconds or whatever it was. And also, Nixick was talking about utilizing elbows when they got in close. I don't think I saw Sean throw a single one.
Yeah. Here's a question, though. So, being that we've kind of established that depending on how you viewed the striking battle, it could be judged pretty evenly. Like they were pretty even on the feet. So, do we think that the takedowns and the control time was a determining factor? Even though he didn't do much damage with the takedowns or, anything with them, but I think he had 6 out of 11 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. I think the judges might have scored them. I don't think they were worth scoring because Drickus had about 2 minutes of control time for the entire 5 rounds. So that's 40, 40 seconds each round, effectively.
Yeah.
And he didn't do any damage when he took Sean down. Sean was just getting straight back up, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can judge it like this. It's when there's no, like Lazy was saying, it's like if they're pretty close on the feet, you can even give a slight edge to, let's say, Strickland. It's close, right? you need another determining factor to establish a winner of that round. If the factor is grappling, and the grappling isn't necessarily causing the momentum of the fight to change, if they're close on the feet, that aspect has to come into play. If it's not outright definitive, you need another aspect to score on, I think. And I think with the majority,
technically speaking, it should only play in if they're dead even on the striking. And
I think they were close. I think that's the thing, because we're establishing that it was a close competitive fight on the feet, right? Throughout the
visibly, it looked about even. Now you got to remember the judges don't have access to the numbers while they're judging, so they don't know the statistics.
Yeah.
So if it's looking to the eyes like it's pretty much dead even on the feet, that grappling, no matter how minimally impactful, it plays some sort of a part. I would have to imagine.
Yeah, I guess that would be fair. Also,
I don't know. It was nice to see somebody take. It was nice to see somebody take Strickland down for once. No matter,
Anyway. Force him to fight off of that, because that's not usually the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's also
Luke Thomas did say this was done under a different scoring system. I don't know if you caught that. I did try and find out which system it was under, but I couldn't find anything before the show.
Something along the lines of Canada hasn't updated their MMA rules system since like 2003.
Yeah. Which would explain that whole Nasser Mozart Bloyev Arnold Allen knee situation. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense now. I was like, that technically is legal.
Which, how are you using a rule set from fucking 2003, dude? That's like archaic. That's caveman shit.
Because they're not part of the unified rules. I think because the U.S. I think it was easier to get a majority of the states. I think a majority of the states now. Remember that era, that time frame when like there was 20 different fucking rule sets within the states, and now it's like I think it's generally all under one rule set now. I think as of late, I could be dead wrong about that.
Different rule set still.
I think I'm pretty sure they rely on whatever the promotion tends to use. I think that depends. I could be dead wrong about that, but that would explain the whole aspect of. If Drakus is pressuring forward, that's the old style of rule set, which you could argue. Yeah, okay, well they favor pressure over accuracy of punches.
Ring generalship or whatever the fuck they call it.
That's the thing.
Octagon control.
Yeah. Now it makes more sense. Yeah,
I guess I didn't really think about that.
I guess we'll find out tomorrow on the one day a week that MK is running things for January.
This is true.
Yeah, all I gotta say is, hey, Canada, when it comes to your fucking rule set, what's that all about?
Oh, no.
Oh. I do not care at all.
Damn it. Okay, all of our Canadian
ladies put me off. I've forgotten that.
Oh my god! All of our Canadian fans are gonna kill us now. I love it.
Did you catch the press conference at all after the fights?
I did not. No.
I've seen some highlights, but not the whole thing. No.
I only listened to the bit with Dana on it, where a journalist tried the same gotcha type of question on Dana as they tried on Sean Strickland, and Dana just put him down like a dog. Shot him, took him out of the back and shot him like old Yeller. It was like, no, I'm not going to tell my fighters what they can and can't say. They have free speech. Dana's obviously a bit of a free speech absolutist. It was like, no, get lost. I don't keep my fighters on a leash. They're allowed to say what they want. Which you could see. You couldn't see the reporter obviously because he's shooting questions from out of the crowd. But you could almost see him curling up into a ball and going, "Oh God, I wish I'd never asked now." So yeah, that was pretty funny.
Was that AK Lee?
I was gonna say, as long as it wasn't AK.
I'm not sure if it was. I couldn't tell which voice it was, but he was definitely poking down that line. Yeah. Dana was defended. He was like, "You asked Sean that question, or whoever it was asked that question. You were trying to bait him, and you got the fucking answer that you knew you were going to get out of Sean. He's not a man who minces his words if he doesn't like something, he's going to tell you he doesn't like it. So don't be surprised when he talks shit to you.
Yeah, he's nothing if he's not predictable. You know, Sean's gonna fucking say some wild shit.
Yeah, I think that was the thing too. Like if you're gonna ask him a question that you already know he's gonna say a certain type of response to, especially being who he is. Yeah, I don't know if the question was warranted, but you answered it.
I thought it was pretty hilarious when he jumped onto Raquel Pennington and Silver and asked them kind of the same question. What do you think of Sean Strickland? And Silver just went, "Yeah, he's hilarious. I really like him." So he couldn't even get his gotcha from any of the lesbians that were involved in the fights either.
Oh, shit. No, because
I'm not saying anything that isn't true there, am I? You know,
no.
all credit to Silver. She's got a beautiful girlfriend.
Those Brazilians,
they both,
they're built different.
Yeah, they both do. I think. Yeah, that's right.
Brazilians can take some shit. They can take it in. They can dish it.
Oh, that's a good segue to the.
I was just going to say that just pretty much segues into the next, the co-main event. Raquel Pennington, who beat Silver, unanimous decision. I'm just looking at the scores now: 49-46, 49-46, and 49-45. We were chatting before the show started, and I said I wasn't overly impressed by this fight. I think it was somewhere in the third or fourth round. I went into the kitchen to make myself a cup of coffee and some toast because it was about 6:30 in the morning. Nice bit of toast and marmalade. Very English for anyone listening.
Yes.
So, yeah, not a super exciting fight. If anyone's got anything to say on it, please take it away.
I'll go first. So good for Rocky. I was cheering for Rocky. I had picked Mario Bueno Silva going into this, and I regretted it immediately.
Yeah.
I love Rocky just because she's very consistent, but my God, she cannot actually engage in any combination or singular strike without looking for a clinch or going to the fence at any point in timing she fights. Like, she looks for the clinch as if she can't see her opponent, and it's the most frustrating thing because you see her open up with combinations, and then immediately after she's done with the combination, she looks to clinch against the fence or in the open. Like, what are you doing? You're literally winning the exchange. Why are you clinching? You have her against the fence. You don't need to clinch. This is the easiest thing. You literally are winning the fight, and you choose to clinch and give her an opportunity because every time she clinches, Mario Bueno Silva is looking for some kind of a trip or elbows and knees, and it's like
the back, whatever. Yeah,
it's like, what? You're giving her an opportunity to win. Stop it. God. Lack
of fight IQ there on Rocky's part, I think.
Oh my God! That was just for me. For me, it was just watching that. Myra, it was too much too soon for her. I think that was the problem because after that first round, she just kind of tanked. And I don't know if it was because she gassed or if it's just because she didn't have that 5-round experience. I don't think she's gone the distance in a 5-round fight ever. And Rocky's been there at least twice in a 5-round fight, you know? And it's not to say that Rocky can't, I think she's already the fighter that she's going to be. She's going to clinch. She's going to have decent boxing, be able to survive certain grappling exchanges. She's not the most exciting fighter. That's for sure. But the problem is that the rest of this division doesn't really have anybody to offer that can beat that currently. Right? I mean, except for maybe Pena. And God, Pena needs to get a goddamn win before she's even in the goddamn conversation. Let her beat Durand, the last person to fucking submit her. Let her do that. Let her fight there. And then we can have a conversation about, oh, maybe she's deserving. No, she's not deserving. She fucking lost. That's it. Right over.
It was a very women's MMA fight.
Oh, I just woke up. What? Huh? What happened? That shit was monotonous. Like you said, fucking no special. I mean, props to Raquel. She's an OG. She's been around for fucking ever. She's fought the who's who. But you are who you are, and who you are is no fucking fun. You are no fun to watch. You're no fun to listen to at press conferences. You're no fun on social media. You're no fun anywhere. You're the no fun zone. Raquel Pennington. That's what you are, and that's what you're gonna be as a champion. And I can't wait until somebody, probably Juliana, comes and snatches that fucking belt from you because you don't deserve it. As far as Myra Bueno Silva goes, I had high hopes because she's got a fucking mean streak. She has that thing that most of the women in the UFC tend to lack, and it's that killer instinct. Like, I want to fucking hurt you. I want to cause pain and violence on you. And I don't know where that shit went last night because she didn't show any of it. The most impressive thing she did was jumping on about 5 different submissions. None of them fucking worked.
Yeah, she did get a face crank at part way. I think it was close to the end of one of the rounds. I can't remember which. Probably the second round.
She had her moments, but she talks such a big fucking talk, and then she comes in there and does Jack's fucking shit. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That whole division's a fucking wreck.
Jermaine Durandamine. I'm telling you guys, she's still in the pool. She has a win over Juliana.
I was laughing at one of our former guests on here, Larry, in the Discord, who said that the result for this fight should have been that someone else needs to win the belt. It's a draw. It's a draw. No one wins this belt. Let's give another try. So
An Ankalaev Jan Blachowicz situation.
Yeah.
I mean, all kudos to Pennington. She's a new mom. She's her and Tisha were going through some things over the last couple of years. I guess I've heard through various podcasts, and they've hammered that shit out. They got a family going. You know, you're a champion now. Good for you. Yeah, I guess I'll end on a positive.
Yeah. She did the Carla Esparza. She finally she got the belt.
Round it out.
Yeah. She did it. She did the thing. Although hers was at least, Carla didn't fight for it. I mean, technically she won it off the Ultimate Fighter, and then, technically walked away with the belt in the second Rose fight. But whatever. She at least won the fight. You can't argue that she didn't win the fight, and there was in fact a fight.
Yeah, that's fair.
There's no. I mean, other than Pena, and again, my feelings on it are, Juliana needs to get a win. Realistically, it would be ideal if they put her against another bantamweight, or realistically against somebody who's a ranked contender, and then have Juliana win that fight, and then you can have momentum actually going into the fight. I don't feel like you losing warrants a actual title shot, but that's just me. I don't know.
Click the rankings up now to see who deserves it. Bantamweight, wasn't it?
How old is GDR now? She's got to be 40.
No, she's like 36, 37, I think.
Is she? Well, that's not bad.
No, because Holm is like 40 now.
Yeah, women's MMA, they age a little bit more gracefully than the men.
Mm-hmm.
What about Irene Aldana?
That's fine. I have no issue with that. They can both fight in UFC, the next UFC Noche or the next UFC Mexico. Like, that'd be ideal, because she caters to a Hispanic crowd anyways, and Aldana, putting her in front of the Mexican fans or Hispanic, fans at any point on a live show, you can at least get some fan, engagement with that. That at least you can get a contender out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got a natural little boost built into it because she has an audience already.
Yep.
Shout out to one of the donks on the Discord. I think it was I'm not sure how to say his username correctly, Corey, who was talking about Aldana today, saying that she's got a good shot to make a run. So shout out to that donk.
Yeah, in this division too.
Yeah, because I was drawing a blank there.
Yes. I think we're good with that one.
We've had almost 10 minutes, and I think that's more than that fight deserves.
That's all I got to say about that.
But
yes.
A fun one for the fight that was before that, I guess. Neil Magny defeating Mike Malott, who's probably a friend of Lazy's, seeing as he's a fellow Ohioan, not a fucking Canadian as he claims to be.
God.
Well, I'll take the lead on this one if nobody else wants.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Take it back to Ohio. Take Mike Millot with you while you're at it.
Picture this: Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah. Um, I'm disappointed because I was one of the few people who had high hopes for Millot. And I blame the fucking Anik and Florian podcast for that because they really hyped the dude up and had me buy into it.
Oh dear.
But he has such a good background, and it led me to believe that was going to translate into the actual octagon time and in cage performance. And it looked like it was in his first few fights. Granted, he wasn't fighting anybody fucking special, but the time he spent as a coach and a cornerman at Alpha Male, I think he's cornered like fucking 20 some odd fights in the UFC. So the jitters and stuff shouldn't have got to him. I thought he was going to perform better than he did. I think that he probably came out feeling a bit of the pressure being in his hometown, having a lot of people in attendance that I'm sure were family members and friends. Maybe experienced some sort of an adrenaline dump. I'm not trying to make excuses for the guy, but at the end of that fight, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone who wasn't a heavyweight that fucking spent, or you're just on the mat, gassed. He didn't even get up.
He didn't even get up, did he? No, yeah.
Fucking ridiculous. There was gifs on Instagram like 2 seconds after that happened already of it. Yeah. As far as I don't what his future is, I think he's like 32. Yeah, the welterweight is full of fucking sharks right now.
Yeah.
Ceiling not looking too high, but if he turns this around and gets another win or two, I think he could, main event a fight night or something if they went back to Canada. He puts a little streak together. Neil Magny, classic gatekeeper, did the gatekeeper thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
If Magny's ranking will improve from that win, because obviously Mallet isn't in the rankings.
I think it should just keep him at the same spot, realistically.
Lucky 13.
Well, I'll expand on what Lazy was saying. Like, legit, I think the moment got to him, and he gassed. I don't think he was doing terrible throughout the fight. I think he was actually winning. And then all of a sudden,
he won the first 2 rounds, no argument there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he legitimately just gets stuck. And I don't know if that's because he freaked out and was trying to just fight out of positions early on, and then just gets put in a place where he can't do anything.
Well, he didn't get put in a place where he couldn't do anything. He jumped into a leg entanglement and then got the shit beaten out of him by Magny, who
I don't think those were.
damn good at jiu-jitsu.
I don't think those were. Well, I know, but I don't think those were death-defying blows that he was absorbing. I think he. I don't want to say he quit, but I think he's like, all right, well, fuck, I can't get out of this. Magny's pressuring from top, and Magny, he's not known for a lot of things, but at least top pressure is one of them. Once he gets you in a position, he usually knows how to expand upon hurting or at least keeping that position once he has it. He doesn't get it all the time, but when he does, he makes sure he uses it. And
yeah, he's a legit vet. There's a reason he's a gatekeeper, because he is such a veteran of the sport.
Yeah. But going to the other point about him being, he's an older prospect. He's 32. He's not going to expand upon his knowledge or skill sets any more than he already has. He might pick up 1 or 2 things more, but realistically, he should have been fighting, a lot more than what he has. So
yeah,
he has an opportunity to turn this around. He fought a top 10 guy. He lost top 15 possibly, and it wasn't the worst thing. To lose to Neil Magny, a guy as veteran as he is, he just needs another couple of wins. He could do that. You just got to turn it around. It's early in the year. You got time. He just doesn't have a lot of it. A lot of things I did like coming out of that fight, but the gassing, I think it's just one of those things where, pay-per-view, he wasn't the main event or the co-main, he was the feature. Everybody's kind of looking to you to kind of be like, okay, you're the exciting guy that's supposed to be coming up, and we're all supposed to be wondering, okay, is he the thing? Is he another Ian Gary? Is he another Jack Della Maddalena? there's a possibility that he could be something. He still has that. He's just got to turn it around now. You can't wait too much longer.
Mm-hmm. I was saying, I was chatting with Austin before the show, and I said I was in a fight watch along with Stephen and Nick Barnhill. I'll give a shout out to the Barnhill Bros because I've been a fan of theirs for a while. And so is Joe Rogan, incidentally. He follows them. So shout out to those guys. But yeah, I was making the comments in their chat that Magny needed this fight to be 5 rounds and he was going to win. And then literally, I think it was 10, 15 seconds later, that was it. The fight was over and Magny had snatched the victory from the jaws of defeat. So yeah, just well done there.
Another thing, small thing to take into consideration for Mallet or Malat is what the fuck was I gonna say? Thanks, marijuana. I can't remember.
Mary Jane got him.
By the time he had made the walk to the cage, how many male Canadians had lost by that point? Like, hadn't they all lost?
Yeah, they went 0 for 7 in the men's Canadian.
Yeah. So was he the last?
Only the ladies who won. Yeah, he was the last one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, by the time he made, like, he was their last ditch effort. He was their last hope. He had all the pressure on him already, and now it was fucking amplified. So I think that with his level of experience, I don't think that he got, flustered because he was overwhelmed, not knowing what to do. I think that, like you hear so many fighters say, their biggest fear is gassing out. When more than anything else, running out of stamina in the middle of a fight is this fucking scariest thing for them. So I think once he realized just how gas he was, and Magny was on top of him, a little bit of panic did set in, and he just didn't know what the fuck to do.
He just covered up, didn't he? He just covered up.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like he literally had nowhere else to go, and he was stuck.
Yeah, and he looked like a fish out of water, just flailing.
Yeah. Yep.
Those shots, like you said, those weren't fucking killer blows, but he was just paintbrushing them to fucking death, just stacking them around.
Yeah, you got to show some resistance. He could have easily have shown enough resistance to make it to the end of the third round. He would have won the fight 2-1 more than likely, or maybe he would have got a draw. Who knows? Magny might have snatched a 10-8 at the end of the round, but he just didn't for whatever reason. Gas tank, whatever the hell it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think he has the ability to kind of bounce back from this. But his next fight will tell us, regardless. Are you that guy, or are we overhyping you?
Yep.
Okie dokie. I don't think we have anything else on that one. Sean's victorious teammate Chris Curtis defeating Marc-Andre Barrio. Split decision won this one. 2 30-27s and a 28-29. I haven't seen the scorecards who scored what for them. I had this fight 29-28 for Chris Curtis. I thought he did more than enough. I can't remember which round it was. I thought that Mark had snatched from him, but that's the score I had at the end of it. I do remember the score I
had. For me, it felt like a typical Chris Curtis fight. Okay. I'm not going to do anything the first round. I'm just going to kind of pot at you. You're going to throw heavy shots occasionally, maybe a jab or two. I'm just going to take whatever you're kind of giving me. Second round comes along. He, pressures a little bit more, but he's not, pressuring hard. In like Marc-Andre Barrio is more than happy to kind of keep marching forward, keep, throwing these leg kicks at him. Not a whole lot of damage is landing on either fighter, but eventually they start, touching each other up a little bit more. Third round comes around, and now you see Chris Curtis finally throwing heavier strikes. He's finally getting into the groove of the fight. He's pushing forward. He's hammering heavy on some of those shots, especially to the body, looking for uppercuts, these swinging hooks and whatnot. And the last 30 seconds is like probably the best version of that fight, or they're not the most skilled of the middleweight division. Probably definitely mid 15, just around the 15 ranking, I would say, is for both of these guys. And they're just willing to throw hammers in the middle of the pocket, and it shows. Like, that's the kind of fight that this was. It was just a little bit of a back and forth. Marc-Andre Barrio's got the pressure going forward, but he's still eating a decent amount of shots. Chris Curtis is not throwing a lot, but when he throws, it means like something. I just looked at this fight and thought it's a typical Chris Curtis fight. He's allowing his opponent to stay in the fight, and he's not looking to finish him right off the bat. And he's not throwing enough to outright win the rounds. You have to kind of squint, and you're like, I could see it for him. That's not the best way to kind of go about it in this division. But
I'd quite like to see the stats for that fight. Actually, I haven't looked them up and see what the significant strikes and whatnot.
I'd imagine it's favoring the numbers should favor Barry out, but I would say that the significant strikes should probably favor Chris.
Yeah. The one thing about the fight, it did, it started off slow and it got more exciting as it went on.
Yeah.
As opposed to them both gassing out in the first round and then it being a complete, try and lay on top of the other guy fest for the last round or whatever.
No, it was a stand-up affair, thankfully.
I did know. I don't know if you noticed. I noticed Chris Curtis doing some very Sean Strickland-like blocking, which obviously he's been training with Sean a lot. He trains with him 6 days a week, and he was doing a lot of those little. I don't even know what you call them, like kind of a little cross block almost with the straight arm in front of himself.
Yep.
Yeah. Little Philly show with the shoulder roll.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. My thoughts on this fight. Actually, it kind of dovetails with what you guys were sort of saying, and it harkens back to what I was saying about the Strickland fight. And it's interesting that him and Strickland are close friends and training partners, and I felt like they both sort of did the same thing. They didn't push the pace enough. You didn't do enough to solidify in the eyes of the viewers and the judges that you're the one dictating the fight. You're the one calling the shots. You're the one controlling the action. I guess you could say the same thing about Barrial in this fight, because look at his fucking nickname, the Power Bar. He's called that because he's supposed to have stamina for fucking days. Yeah, usually him pushing the pace is one of his signatures. Somebody online, I saw one of the comment sections somewhere, said it was basically a glorified sparring match, and that's kind of the feel I got from it too, until that third round when they really started to let it go. I'm pretty high still on the Power Bar. I think he's got a fairly bright future ahead of him, although he is also getting up there in age. Curtis, I believe, is 36 now, so he's on the tail end of things.
Light heavyweight, so I guess he's got a little bit more leeway to fight.
True. But yeah, shout out to Chris Curtis. He's a Cincinnati boy, so he's from Ohio. Gets a little bit of love from me for that. He's also really good friends with the handicapper on Anik and Florian, Brian Petrie. Big gun.
Oh,
yeah, they're good buddies, both Cincinnati boys. So good on you, Chris Curtis. Wasn't the most exciting fight, but most of these ones weren't.
That's a theme.
I did forget to bring this up when we were talking about the Strickland fight. Did you see you've obviously seen the photos of the guys after the fight? If you're looking at damage, Sean Strickland's got like a little cut by the side of his eye, and I think even Duplessis described himself. My face looks like a cauliflower. Just looking on damage, Duplessis
that thing grew.
Far more damage in that. He looked like he'd been whooped by Sean's dad, quite frankly.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, let's not go back. Let's carry on to the next one, unless anyone wants to say anything more about Chris Curtis.
I think fun matchups are ahead for Curtis, and Marc-Andre Barrios showed that he's still a guy that has it. Good for them. Good fight. It was a good fight.
Oh, Chris Curtis is 14th ranked at the minute, sliding out of the top 15 by the looks of it.
So he holds his position. Good for him.
Yeah, it looks that way, yeah.
And then we go for the card opener, the main card opener.
Movsar Evloev. I'm not going to do an attempt at an Anik pronunciation of that one.
Movsar Evloev.
Yep, there it is. Perfect.
Very well done. Bravo, Austin.
Thank you. Yes.
The Anik School of Pronunciation. What do you think about that one? This was one of those fights. He just didn't really attract my attention, to be honest. The most thing I noticed about it was the semi-legal or illegal knees that Allen managed to hit Evloev with.
Yes.
Was that second round or third round where he landed those?
I think it was the second.
Yeah, I think so.
At least he didn't quit. At least he got up and carried on.
Yeah, that's true. Didn't take the easy way out.
No, he could have very easily done that. Yeah. Judges had no problem. I mean, the judges all scored this card the same way, so it was all 29-28.
No, it was definitely a. Okay, so let me say this. This one was my fight of the night for all purposes on this one.
Really?
So, yep.
Wow.
For me specifically, now I'll say this: looking at Mozart Evloev, he is that guy that is the featherweight version of what Khabib is, and he's not the biggest guy either, but he's fucking stocky as shit. Like, here's your typical, I'm going to beat the shit out of you, however I can get you down to the mat. And he has looked impressive against every single person that he's fought, except for Diego Lopez, right? That was the only guy to actually push him and make him fight off of his back, out of submissions and everything. But even then, he still managed to put on a pretty decent performance from that fight. This fight shows that he is a champion pretty much in waiting. No matter who's next for the title, or whoever wins that fight between Ilir Topuria and Alexander Volkanovski, Mozart Evloev is that goddamn dark horse of the division that you don't know a whole lot about, but you fucking know he's good. And you cannot give him any room to be dominant. The minute you give him an inch, he's going to take a mile, put your ass on the mat, and start looking for submissions, if not ground and pound. He is that type of good fighter. He is dominant. Arnold Allen is a contender. By all definitions, he is a great fighter. He struggled in this fight with the pacing that Mozart was able to push on him. He was able to bounce out of a lot of stuff that was, pushing Arnold against the fence. A lot of things where he's trying to Granby on a regular basis to get out of spots. He just got caught once or twice, and he was still able to keep fighting through positions. He was just a step behind. And that's the thing that was the beauty of this fight for me, was that these are two guys who are in their prime. They are not past 35. They're prime fighters in one of the these are the guys that you want to see fighting. I would pay extra just to see these two fight again, because this legitimately was like, okay, I need to see who the best in the featherweight division is right now. I think both of these guys could have fought for the title already, but we're making them fight each other now. It is what it is. But Arnold Allen showed
Allen did have his shot against Holloway, didn't he? And Max beat
yeah, there's a whole issue I have with that fight. Just to begin with, I didn't think Max needed to fight a contender. I think he just needed to take on fun fights, and then we could have put him against who else. Like we should not be putting Max against contenders if he possibly
even Volk said that, didn't he? He said, "Stop beating my contenders."
Yes.
I want to fight these guys.
If you're going off for pure meritocracy, Max has to fight these guys in order to stay in contention. But that's the problem. He's already lost to Volk 3 times. Like, you can't ask Max to fight contenders if he's already lost to the guys that's holding the belt. But that's another story. This, to me, I want to see Mozart fight for the title. He does not need to fight anybody else. Arnold,
you think?
No, absolutely not. Arnold Allen is that guy that you can say, if Arnold is second or third in line after Max, or even whoever else is there, Max is out of the picture now.
What about a match versus Brian Ortega? If anyone can find out where
Brian
the hell he
does
is.
not even does not deserve anything. That man needs to actually get a goddamn win first in the division. Then we could talk about him maybe fighting for the fucking title. No, fuck that guy.
Yeah, I forget which one of the ladies it was who's been booted out of the rankings, hasn't she? Ortega's still sat there at third place, having not fought for a year or more.
Because he's so damn beautiful.
No, stop it. Just stop it. You're falling for the trick.
Those crystal blue eyes.
See, that's bullshit. He's getting to you.
Hubba.
God damn it. Black magic is working on you.
Well, this was a good fight. It was a really good fight. I think if you looked at all the fights on the main card, this was the only one outside of the main event that could have really stood alone as a main event on just about any card. You put these two dudes at the top of the bill, people are going to tune in and they're going to watch. like you were saying, no special. These are two guys at the top of their division in their prime, both elite contenders. Evloev is just, he's that dude who's, if he has a game plan, he's going to implement that game plan, and you're not going to prevent him from doing it. You're going to have to work around it and try to find a workaround to beat him. And that's sort of what I feel Diego Lopez did, really working his BJJ in those grappling scrambles. And Arnold just, outside of that, he attempted either a ninja choke or a guillotine, something like that. Outside of that, he didn't really threaten much of anything. I hate it for Arnold because he's one of my favorite guys in the division. He's one of my favorite guys in the UFC altogether. I love the Pacer Allen stuff with his dad. He was great on Room Service Diaries.
Yeah.
He's just a good dude. But it shows you when you start getting up into that top 5 in any division, but especially in ones like featherweight or lightweight, bantamweight, those really tough ones, the percentage points that separate these guys are so small. It's tiny little differences that make all the difference in the world. So I don't knock Arnold down too far for losing, even though, what is this, 2 in a row now?
Yeah. One is to a former champion. This one is to a top contender. So you got to give him some grace on that, I guess.
Yeah. You can't knock the guy too much for it. Although it does suck. He really needs a win in his next one. But Evloev, dude, that guy, yeah, like you said, I don't even know if he's the dark horse of the division anymore. I think he's the boogeyman. I think he's the one that most all these guys want to avoid.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because he has that style that's just, it's almost,
Dagestani wrestling has not gone away just yet, has it?
Yeah, it's impossible to deal with almost. So, I think bright things ahead for both, but for Allen, future's a little bit more cloudy right now. So, see what unfolds.
Put him against Brian.
Yeah. Isn't T-City scheduled to fight somebody finally?
Oh no, you're right. I apologize. I hate him so much that I forget he was matched up. That's on me. God. But no, hell, put him against who was it? Josh Emmett. Put him against Josh Emmett. Yeah. Josh Emmett just got a win, right?
Yeah.
Josh Emmett's a hard fight for anybody because he doesn't go away very easy, but he's not the most technical. It would be a good fight for him, I think, especially him needing a win.
That would be a fucking barn burner, dude. Think about that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm thinking about it now.
Heavy leather.
Yeah, that could be a fun fight.
Somebody's probably going to sleep.
Oh yeah.
One way
but it's a good test for Arnold. Again, he needs a win, right? And Emmett, if he wants to stay in contention, he needs another win as well. He didn't say anything about retiring anytime soon, so he's probably not going to get a title shot anytime soon either. So might as well fight the guys that they put in front of you. You know, Arnold's one of those guys that you can put in front of him, and it makes sense. It makes sense at least.
Yeah. Where's my boy Bryce Mitchell fit into all this?
Oh God.
Don't be out for his blood again, Lazy. You've already murdered our poor farm boy once already.
He's still recovering. I'll leave him alone.
Yeah. Still trying to track down his soul from where Emmett knocked it out of his body.
Yep.
I guess while we're on this division, we might as well just have a quick jump over to the announcement for UFC 300 with Max Holloway taking on Justin Gaethje. What did you two think about that? This is a fight. I think this could be a super exciting fight, and I still don't want to see it. I don't think Max needs to take a beating from. I think Holloway. I think Gaethje will win this one. I'm not saying Max can't be competitive because he probably will be, but I just don't see him beating Justin. I think the power's too much for him.
Yeah, you go ahead and take this one, Lazy.
Jeez. I don't see the point in it, to be honest with you. I know Max probably just doesn't want to sit and stay idle while he waits for Volk to do his thing coming up against Topuria, but I feel like he's at a place in his career where this kind of fight, there's more at risk than there is to gain.
Yeah.
Like you're not only gambling with your place. Well, even though it's not a featherweight fight, I feel like if he loses, it's gonna somewhat jeopardize his position in the featherweight division because he is getting up there in age. Not necessarily, but in cage time, he's a vet. So
He's what,
I
32,
don't know.
I think, isn't he, Max?
Yeah. So you would think he's entering his prime, which he may be, but that amount of cage time accrued, I don't know. Like I was saying, I don't really see the point in it. I don't see necessarily other than money, what you're gaining from this, and I feel like it would have been a much smarter thing to just kind of hang back and see what happens between Volk and Taporia. Now, granted, Volk could win and Max is screwed. So that might be why he wanted this fight. But I don't want you to die, Max. I don't want you to die. You're my boy.
No one wants to see Max's legendary chin cracked, and Gaethje is the kind of guy to do it.
Exactly. If there's anybody that's gonna fucking crack it, it's a guy like Justin.
Especially new Justin. I mean, he's off the scale compared to what he was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. God damn it. All right. So my matchup that I wanted for Max was Edson Barbosa. And I don't know why we couldn't have just gotten that at UFC 300. A featherweight who's been in the game just as long as Max. Matter of fact, Max has been around about the same time, if not just as long. So, look, it's not that this fight isn't going to be entertaining. It's going to be entertaining. It's hard to have a Max fight not being entertaining. It's hard to have a Justin Gaethje fight not being entertaining.
Yeah.
Both of them together are going to cause mayhem, but I think had Max, once he lost to, Volk the third time, he should have just gone up to lightweight at that point. Like, why cut weight anymore to make 145 when you can take a couple of fun fights at 155 and just stay in contention? He's 30 years old now. He's not going to get much better than what he already is. He's already a former champion. He beat Aldo. He beat Edgar. He beat anybody who was worthy at 145, and then pretty much now he's already a legend at 30 years old, and that's the thing. You can't take that away from him. He doesn't need this fight, but it's more. I think they didn't know what to do with Max, and Max kind of created a problem for them when he beat Allen, and he also stayed in contention when beating Korean Zombie. There's a problem with that. You can't have a former champion just beat contenders like he did with Allen. He should have just been fighting the older names like Zombie, Edson, hell, even a rematch with Brian Ortega, a fight with Yair Rodriguez, a rematch in that. There's names that he could have fought besides the contenders, and you could have just allowed the contenders to just make their way up into the rankings and then fight for a championship against Volk or whoever the champion is at that time. You could have just made Max a fun fight. Just stay in contention, just like Joseph Benavidez did with Mighty Mouse when he was actually, he lost to him the first time. He stayed in contention, ready to go, and then just lost after getting knocked out. What did he do? He went on a win streak. He went on a 6-fight win streak, maybe one fight a year, right? Still entertaining. Still, ended up eventually getting a title fight once, Mighty Mouse left the organization. He lost, but he had the opportunity to come back, but he didn't take on every single contender that the UFC had at that point. He just had to keep fighting. That's not the case with Max. I think at this point, they're just they don't know what to do with Max, so they're like, all right, well, let's just throw him in some with random fights. 300 needs a fight, right? Let's just throw him in with that. Justin Gaethje, BMF belt. Let's have him defend it this time, even though they fucking said that he wouldn't ever need to defend the fucking BMF belt, because fuck that. Why are we doing this shit anyways? Fucking bullshit.
To be fair, it was Max who asked for that fight.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I've seen a lot of criticism saying, the UFC's bludgeons Max into taking this fight, and he hasn't. Max asked for it. Even Gaethje said, "I don't want this fight. I like Max. I don't want to punish the guy." So
I know, but that's the thing. If he's asking for it, you have to give him something. They should have just done something else with him. I think that's what you could have done. I don't think.
I like Lazy's idea of the Barbosa fight. That would have been fire. I'd have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Much more than I would like to see Gaethje versus him. Yeah,
Because it means
Barbosa looked
something
great
more.
last year.
Yeah, it's more like out of fear. I think all of us are on the same page with this. We just don't want to see Max get hurt, and we love Justin, but we all adore Max, and Max is that guy for us right now. And it's like, I don't want to see Max be put through more damage than he already has, especially for a fight that means nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's sort of this thing where it's like, outside of what the UFC gains from adding this fight to 300 and it kind of bolstering the card, outside of that, it's really a lose-lose for them, because you're taking two, to borrow a pro wrestling term, you're taking two of the baby faces of the company, two of the most beloved guys under your banner, and you're making them face off in a fight that the victor really gains nothing. So the fans ultimately lose, because no matter who wins, you got to see one of your favorites get beat to shit. Like,
yeah,
it's not going to be, I don't know what they're looking for, but I don't think they're going to get it.
Well, maybe it's just to keep Gaethje occupied, because they don't seem to want to give him the next shot at Makhachev for whatever reason.
I think that's because Ramadan's coming up, and I think they'd rather just, if Islam isn't trying to fight around that time, they're like, well, look, you can either wait till July or after Ramadan, and Islam will be available, or you can fight somebody else in the meantime. And then I guess he'd be out. I think the problem is that somebody had said this before. When he beat Dustin, it was almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a year of him not fighting, right?
Yeah.
But Islam has said, though, he wants to get 3 fights in this year, and the UFC doesn't seem to want to oblige him.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's like they for some reason you're also in a tough position, because he's earned a title fight, so you can't just give him anybody. So if he can't, it's the way the UFC is running things right now. It just kind of feels like they're kind of like, all right, let's just throw shit at the wall and hopefully it works. You know, they have intentions to have contenders fight a contender eventually, but it's usually they're looking for specific, okay, what's the most attractive fight we can put on? And then we just go from there, instead of having the meritocracy decide.
Uh-huh.
Well, and here's a little interesting question about this fight, too, is, as we know, only champions get pay-per-view points. A BMF title has never been defended. So with Justin being the defending BMF champion, does he get pay-per-view points?
I think they must have offered him that to get him to fight Max. Otherwise, I think he would have turned around and gone, no, I don't want to fight him, get lost.
There has to be a side letter for both of them at this point. Because which you can make that part of your contract, like, okay, here's my base pay, right? I get a flat fee of whatever, or whatever my contract states. If I get, 150 and 150,000, or whatever Max is probably going to be closer to 500,000, I'm imagining, because he is a former champion. He's been with the company for a long time, and that man has, he has drawing power. Max has drawing power. Not the best, but he's a good draw, especially if you put him on TV regularly.
Certainly amongst the harder core fans, Max is a huge draw. Yeah.
Yeah. Justin's I think he's a good draw as well. Not like a major draw, but I think Max is a little bit more popular than him. But at the same time, I think both of these guys, I'm pretty sure Max is more like universally.
I did check Gaethje's record. Apart from 1 or 2 of his losses, and I think even on one of his losses, he always gets performance of the night, fight of the night, KO of the night, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's a reason he's called the highlight, because he bloody well is. There's no one that's more exciting in the UFC than Justin Gaethje, and you can fight me over that if you like.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not exciting. I'm just saying one might be more popular than the other. But in this case, I think it doesn't matter, because I think that if I'm their agent or whoever they're working with, I would have fought to make sure both of these guys had at least a side letter. But I know one of them works with Ali. I don't know if the other one does. So.
Well, Gaethje does certainly. That's where he was trying to get the pair of them together, wasn't it? Islam versus Gaethje, double payday for Ali.
Usually.
Very happy man.
Pay your child support, Ali.
Oh Jesus!
It's got dodgy stuff on there. Shall we go back on track and are we done with that?
Yeah,
Shall we go back onto
we'll go to Katona. Yeah,
to the Brad Katona, who I described as a serial killer, without realizing until Lazy told me that he was described that way on whichever tough season he was on.
Yes.
Which I thought was hilariously funny. I genuinely didn't know. It was just my own observation. You know, it was, oh Christ, he looks like a serial killer. The nerdy serial killer, I think I called him.
The eyes, Chico. The eyes never lie.
Yeah. What did you got? Ted Katona, you called him, wasn't it, Laser?
There it is. You want to take this one, Lazy?
No, yeah. Not a whole lot to say about this one. I did have Katona coming in just because of the grappling prowess and stuff that he's shown throughout his fights. I heard it somewhere on a podcast somewhere, and I agreed with it. I don't think Katona should have ever been cut from the UFC. I think that was kind of a weird move. But you know, dude's built like a fucking brick shithouse for a fucking bantamweight. He's a monster. He's got a real Clark Kent thing going on because when you see him with his glasses and his shirt on, you don't suspect at all that the dude underneath is a fucking heathen.
Just a little ball of muscle.
Yeah, he's a fucking meatball. Yeah, it was a good fight. Armfield was surprisingly pretty sharp with his striking. I do recall that.
Well, it wasn't any. There was no controversy in the decision. It was 29-28 straight.
Yeah. It was pretty unanimous. This is one of my 7 losses of the night here.
Jesus.
You did better than me. I got 8 on this card. So.
I think I went 8 and 5
not
on
a
the
good
night.
night for the favourites last night.
No, I went 8 and 5 in my picks.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. I don't know. Other than that, I don't know a whole lot on
You might have gone 8 and 4. You can't have gone 8 and 5 because there were only 12 fights.
What the hell did I pick? I swear. Never mind. Back onto the point. I'll be the one that's an outlier on this. I thought Brad Katona won. I don't know. For me, I thought he was competitive throughout the fight. Was dominant with his grappling exchanges. His takedowns were great. He didn't do a whole lot of damage from top, but when he had the takedowns, Armfield was able to get some good exchanges on the feet. But I felt Katona did enough to win. I don't know if that's just because I thought Katona was a better fighter. I didn't think Armfield was the best fighter. I didn't think Armfield won, but I don't know. Weird for me to watch this one, and I'm like, okay, they read the decision. I'm like, I literally looked up as I was taking notes, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? I don't know. I maybe it was more obvious that Armfield won, but my first glance at it, it was like, no, I definitely had Katona. The exchanges were pretty close. Armfield, I think, was like the hard exchanges, but Katona had a lot of like hooks that were landing and was landing decent power shots. I thought, again, I think this was the point of like does the takedowns reward the striking, or is it like if there's like close stats on the feet, does the grappling, even if it doesn't lead to damage, equal a win? And I guess that's the thing. It's like it counted against him instead, with the judges at least. So I don't know. Something to think about, I guess.
I was too distracted. I can't remember why, but I didn't take that much notice of this fight. I guess it wasn't that exciting for whatever reason. The funny one was unless, do you want to bring anything in, Lazy, on this one?
On the Katona one?
Yeah.
I don't got anything else. That's about it.
Okay. Yeah. So gone to the fight before it, then the slightly controversial one, because at least Charles Jourdain seemed to hear things differently. With both guys raising their arm, and Woodson actually walking off and thinking, "Shit, I lost this fight," and then getting called back. It's like, no, pal, you know your name was called, you won.
Yeah.
That was a weird one. I don't think I've ever seen that happen in the octagon before. That was pretty peculiar.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Bruce has been on the Bud Light too much in that before the card started or something.
No, because what they did was they called Sean Woodson, but the crowd was like yelling at the same time, so it just ended up being one of those things where you're like, well, shit. And then Daniel's laughing the whole time because of course he is. He's just like, no, Sean, you won. He's like, oh shit, what? I did? He's all, yeah. And that was the thing. It's like you have a 6'3" featherweight, a guy who looks like skin and bones, his head looks like a blown up skull, and he's lanky. He's not super strong. He's not super like damaging with the strikes a lot of the times. You're gonna have a hard time fighting featherweights that are gonna beat this guy, especially since he's got really
like
good boxing.
6'3" or something.
No, he's 100% 6'3", I think.
Huge.
But
huge.
But look, here's the problem with this thing. He should be fighting as a lightweight. I thoroughly believe that he could be a better lightweight than he is a featherweight. I think he literally cuts the weight because he started as an actual heavyweight, I think, in combat sports originally.
Really?
Yeah. There's pictures of him as a heavy man.
Joking about that.
No, he legit. Yeah, it's a thing. It's a real thing. So him making weight at 145 pounds at the frame of 6'3", he's not going to have a whole lot of muscle. And I think Jourdain, not being a natural grappler, struggled to get a tall man down. So his best bet was to just like throw haymakers in his mind. I don't think that was the case. I think he just needed a little bit more training with grappling. He had options, and he had Sean against the fence multiple times. He does the thing that you're not supposed to do, which was fight for a single leg longer than you need to. And that's what he was doing. He was literally holding it up at his chest, and that's not going to do anything for you. He's not doing the trip like he should. He's not pressing him against the fence and switching to a double like immediately. Like the idea is if you have an opponent that's taller than you and you're trying to take him down, your best bet is to waste less time trying to fight for the leg. You need to use it to immediately get to a double or find a way to trip him and take him to the mat. He didn't do any of that. Matter of fact, he struggled with the single leg more often than not. 6'3", staying at range is not the ideal situation either. He's jumping in and out, getting caught with a jab, getting caught with a hook, and he's just allowing Sean to be a presence outside the pocket. He struggled. He managed to get a couple of big shots in there, but that's the thing is like you got to get in his face. You have to be willing to take a shot, but you also have to be pressuring him. If you're not pressuring him on a regular basis and you're not throwing 100% of your strikes constantly trying to find just that target, because he was headhunting. He was looking for big headshots, and he landed one or two, but you need to hit his body, you need to hit his legs, you need to pressure him and cut him off. He wasn't doing enough of that. And with Woodson literally has a pretty decent amount of defense, and he's got a decent jab. Like you're not going to beat that staying on the outside of him. So
no.
But I would like to see him as a lightweight because I feel like he'd actually have competition that he'd have to fight. I don't know. It's just weird for me to watch a 6'3" featherweight that's just there and he's just like, pop, pop, pop.
Yeah.
You know,
that was sort of my takeaway.
If Woodson ever wants to retire from fighting, he has an avid place as an extra on The Expanse as a belter. Low gravity boy.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, my interesting take from this fight was sort of like what you just said, no special. I think I would like to see Woodson move up to 155, and on the opposite of that, I might want to see Jourdain move down to 135. The size difference was so fucking apparent, and Jourdain's not a huge 145er. Like, not, I mean, obviously not height wise, but even thickness. I think if he a couple of diet changes and some different things, he could easily make 135. And I think at his size, he would be a lot more competitive down there. Woodson, if you watched the weigh-in shows, he had one of the roughest cuts out of anybody that weighed in. He looked like fucking hell on the scale. So yeah, I sort of do think that he's probably killing himself a little bit more than he needs to just to get down to 145 to have that size advantage. But even at fucking lightweight, dude, 6'3" is huge. Yeah. So
I don't know. I mean, he might fight that guy that's like, let's say a Dan Hooker, who's 6 foot, I think, 6'1" or 2", I can't remember.
Jalen Turner.
Or Jalen Turner, yes. Damir Ismagulov would have been an interesting one. A taller striker. Guram Kutateladze, who's kind of like a well-rounded fighter, but also a big for the weight class as well. There's a couple of lightweights you could throw at him that are his size, and he'd have to adjust, which is great because I want to see him challenged. He didn't seem challenged in this fight. He just kind of seemed to, all right, I'm going to be there. And I think that's the more frustrating part is that he didn't have that killer instinct. Like we were all looking at with a couple of the other fighters. Like you can tell high level fighters when they're there. I can't tell if he's a high level fighter or not because I see talent, and it looks like he's just kind of taking a back seat to, all right, I'm going to let him give me the fight that I want, and I'm not going to change too much of that, which is fine. But that's like your prospect who's not trying to test himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's all I got.
I was just checking that neither of them are ranked, but I can't see either of them.
How old is Woodson?
I have no idea off the top of my head.
He's got to be like, what, 31? 32 maybe?
I can look.
Woodson is 31, yeah.
Okay, yeah. He's got time. I think he's not like a Malott, right?
No.
Okay, so he could make the jump. Yeah, he can make the jump to lightweight, make a run real quick. But I mean, if he's at featherweight, he's not like breaking the rankings anytime soon. It's not like Jourdain. Jourdain wasn't ranked going into this fight, so it wouldn't be a out of the pocket question for him to go up to lightweight and at least take on someone who's like a, not a ranked fighter, but a decent name that he can fight. He doesn't have to make the cut, get a win here or there, get 3 wins in a row. All of a sudden, he can probably is a contender.
I know it's way too early, but what about Woodson versus O'Malley for the lanky boy versus the guy who thinks he's lanky for that division?
Maybe. Oh, you know who you could do? Oh, who's the young kid at lightweight right now? The one who had what was it? M&M's? Oh, god damn it!
Lightweight.
He used to be a featherweight too, but he's like a lightweight right now. He's like 21 or 22 right now. I can't remember.
Don't know. No idea.
Oh, name's on the tip of my tongue right now. I can't remember. He's like a kid though. He looks like a Ben Askren's son.
Oh, Chase Hooper.
Yes, thank you. Chase Hooper. That'd be a perfect shot for him.
Oh yeah.
You got Chase Hooper, who looks like Ben Askren, who looks like Roman Kopylov.
Thank you, guys. Yes. Thank you, also, Editor Dave.
Do you guys want to rifle through these last ones? Because I got about 10 minutes and I got to hop off here.
Yeah. Let's go.
My fight of the night was Taveras versus Side, which was just a backwards and forwards bloodbath. I thought Side stole this one. He definitely lost the first round, definitely won the second round, and then the third round was a close round. But I think he was doing, he was coming forward more, landing more, maybe landing less powerful, I guess. But I had City. I know it was a split decision. I'd love to see that fight again. To be honest, I think that'd be a fun one to repeat.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was a hell of a fucking scrap. And I do agree with you that I think that City did enough to win. I could see it going either way because of how fucking damaged City was. His nose was fucking shot. It it was giving me like borderline flashbacks to Rory McDonald versus
I was
Robbie
gonna say
Lawler
that, yeah.
in Canada with the fucking smash nose. Like, jeez. But yeah, it was a hell of a fight, and I would not mind watching that a third time, actually.
I think it was when he got poked on the nose, he spat his mouth guard out, and the ref just was like, "Put it back in or don't, but you're not getting water on it. I'm not giving you a break.
Yeah.
Lube that bitch
That was
with
fair.
blood if you want to put it back in."
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Wouldn't be
It was
the
a good
first
scrap. Yeah.
time.
It's good scrap. Definitely contender for fight of the night for sure. I mean, both of these guys should get paychecks regardless. But
Well,
it'd be fun to
Tavares
see them.
shouldn't have got a paycheck because Tavares weighed in overweight. So
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
wasn't
right.
entitled
Yeah,
to a
that's
bonus.
right. I
'Cause I
forgot
was
about
swearing about this one because if I'd have known, if I'd have realised my fault for not paying attention, if I'd known Tavares had missed weight, I would have picked him over Siddy, and I didn't. So cost me a pick there.
that.
Yeah.
Nah.
So City
Let's go to
got
the
30% of that purse.
That's true.
Yeah,
We would have
Which
gotten more money. We would
probably
have
a
gotten
12
the
and
bigger
12
purse.
contract.
Yeah.
And the other bloodbath, Jasmine Jazdavicius, defeating Priscilla Cachoeira. Managed to get the Anaconda choke in right at the end, and spoilt what might have been the most dominant fight result of ever, because that could have easily been a 30-24 card, I think.
Yeah.
Someone posted that magnificent picture in the Discord somewhere with her just bleeding all over the cage.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the few upsides of the night for Canada.
Yeah.
Well, two.
I think
Yeah,
both.
that's
I'll say
the
both the
first one.
Canadian ladies won. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, her and Robertson both won, and
Yeah.
that was the thing. Good for them. Good for them. Dominic, they both have wins over Ketchware as well.
Go figure.
That was the one we were on about, wasn't it? I said 313-4 or something in significant strikes.
Yeah.
Just one hell of a beating. So I said Hamzat levels of beating that was.
Yeah. It's like Hamzat on steroids. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yep.
My one little shot I'd like to give from the prelims and early prelims is Sam Patterson, who defeated Johan Lanus, the White Lion.
Yeah.
Sam Patterson, I've been watching him get hyped up for a while with John Gooden. John Gooden's real big on him. He's done a couple of features in his gym with him. And actually, I would like to thank him for picking Sam Patterson for this fight because he warned me to not count out his lanky man jiu-jitsu, which won him the fight. Patterson, who just moved up to welterweight from lightweight, where at lightweight he looked really chinny. Still kept his chin up high in this fight, which worried me a bit because Lanus can crack. But yeah, it was a good showing from Patterson. I'm glad he got the W. Good prospect for the UK. Good prospect.
Yeah. Definitely. Patterson looks like an actual good prospect at this weight class for sure. He looks healthy. He looks healthy considering, but let's see how he does with a couple more fights. I think he can be something for sure.
Yeah, room to improve.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say Gordon. He should have won. He was winning and then fell forward and then got submitted. I don't know what to say about that. It's like you had it, and then you lost it.
Yeah, he gave that one away definitely.
God. Yeah, Flake didn't deserve the win, but he got it because Gordon gave him the opening, and of course you gotta take whatever your opponent gives you, right?
Absolutely. No fault on Flick. It was completely Gordon's fault there. He messed up.
Yeah. Oh, before we end the episode, since we've gone through the card now, shout out to Frankie Edgar getting into the goddamn UFC Hall of Fame. That fucking time.
Woo, Frankie!
Yeah, Frankie, you did it.
River, New Jersey's own Frankie Edgar.
Yeah, that's right.
Another
Jersey
Jersey
forever.
shout out.
Multiple. Like I love Frankie, and Frankie's had this coming for a while now, and I was so saddened when he lost at New York, and it was his last fight. The way everything went down, I hated everything about it. Like, he should have fought Dominic Cruz on his way out. That's what it should have been. That's what the fight should have been. He should have had Dominic Cruz for his final fight, and it's against a former champion, and it doesn't matter because he's not going to take that much damage from a guy who barely throws hands. You know, like, he's not known for his power. He's just known for his conditioning. And it would have been a fun scrap anyways. Two former champions in New York. That's what the fight should have been. Instead, we got some fucking jabroni who ended up knocking him out, and it was the saddest thing. But I was happy. Yeah, exactly, in front of his kid. Yeah, and I hated that shit. This was a proper send off. I was happy to see him get inducted, and just the reaction, just to the whole thing. It was nice. You know, I appreciated that.
Always good to see a legend like Frankie get his flowers.
Yeah, exactly.
Good on you, Frankie.
Yeah.
With his very old school record, if I can say that. I'm just fucking 36 matches, 24 wins, 11 losses. That's proper old school. Yeah, win 2 out of 3 fights.
Yeah, and nothing but hammers too.
Yep. Always bigger than him for his entire career.
Yep. That has literally been his story. God. Real quick. Rating the card before we get out of here. I had it. I can say I'll say this. I thought it could have. There had every pay-per-view, every fight card has the potential for a 10 out of 10. I think this one had a potential like it had potential to be exciting and fun, and there were some moments in it. I think for me, I'll say it's a 6.5. That's what I'll say. Not bad, but could have been better.
Yeah, the early prelims and the prelims are really, really good. It was just kind of the main card that fell off a little bit, which is the opposite way around it's supposed to be, I guess. So yeah, I wouldn't disagree too much there, Austin. 6.5, maybe a 7.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'll go. I think I'll go 6. It had its moments. Yeah, well, part of my reasoning for giving it just a 6 is the Canadian crowd. You guys suck. You guys were terrible. You fucking booed everything. You fucking whined and complained.
I've got to give the crowd some credit for shouting "fuck Trudeau" for one of the.
Oh, that's all they could shout though. That you don't get brownie points for shouting only one thing.
I can live with that one.
My favorite part was they were chanting fucking Strickland in the beginning of the main event, and then like midway through the 4th round, they're chanting DDP.
Yeah,
fickle
traitors.
fucking bastards.
Fickle Canadians, yeah.
Yeah.
Stay consistent.
Nice. Yeah, you're supposed to be nice and polite. What the fuck?
Yeah.
The one time a stereotype should be true, and it's not.
Well, you know, they could have spent the entire fight shouting out against AK Lee, who made himself very popular in the press conference.
That's true. Yeah. He kind of put himself in that position, so yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, I guess that gives us, what does that work it? That gives us roughly a 6.5 average between the three of us. I think we come to 19 and a half. But yeah. Good enough.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Bad. Not bad.
Fair.
There we go then. Yeah. So we can end on agreeing for once. That's nice. So yeah. All right. I guess that's it all from us tonight. We'll be back at least for the next UFC card. We're not exactly sure. We might have a little special to do, depending when we can grab everyone together. So do the like and subscribe. You know the drill. And that's good night from all of us. Say good night, guys.
Later, guys. Enjoy.
Nah. Yeah.
I managed to find some enthusiasm for the card in the end.
It's a Sean Strickland card. You gotta have something. Come on.
It would have been much better. I would have been much more enthusiastic if Sean had won.